and gentlemen, let's go.
Where Brooklyn at? Where Brooklyn at? Where Brooklyn at?
Well, actually, I live in Delaware now, so does that make me a Delawarean?
Singing girl.
You know, Beyonce is my friend in my head. Jay my people sometimes, too.
Yeah. I mean, like, be true, man.
You know, when I was a kid, I had an imaginary enemy. Like, does that make me crazy?
Life as P, presented by Say What Radio.
Hey, hello. Welcome back to Life is P. I'm your host, Phoenix Ash, and I say welcome back for those of you who have listened before. Thank you. I appreciate it. If this is the first time that you're listening, I appreciate you too. Thanks for giving me a shot. Hopefully I can pour into your life, your mental state, your well-being. If you're on an entrepreneurial journey or chasing your dreams, chasing your passions, hopefully I say something that can invest in that, because that is one of my most favorite things to do. I love to see people chase their passions and go after their goals, and I love to stand on the side and cheerlead. And if I can actually step in and be of some help, that is the most preferable way I like to live my life. So hopefully you'll find something here. I was thinking about what has been going on in the week, and I really wanted to talk to you guys about finding your groove. And not even really how to find your groove. There's so many things out there that tell you how to do this or how to do that. And I'm one of those people who I listen for a second and I try to do something, but whatever formula someone has handed me for whatever reason doesn't typically work for me, or maybe it doesn't work for me right away. And I have to sometimes use discernment to figure out if that thing was right for me or if I'm expecting too much too soon. I want us to really think about not giving up before we find our groove. And I know that's such a hard thing to master. It's a hard line to walk, because you don't know, how long am I supposed to be at this thing before I find my groove? How long am I supposed to invest my time, invest my energy before I find my groove? Whether it be in a relationship, whether it be in a passion that you're trying to pursue, or a work relationship, a new job, or whatever. It's how long do I work at this thing until I find my groove? How do I know when to give up? Honestly, I don't have numbers for you. I really don't. I think that it's different, not only per person, but per situation. But I do believe that if you wholeheartedly think that this is something you should pursue and this is where you're supposed to be, even though you haven't found your groove, I would say don't give up. If you know that you are a bomb writer, I spoke to a young woman the other day and she's like, I always knew that I can write. I did well in high school and college. I just always knew I can write, but I'm starting stories and I can't finish them and I just don't know how to get through. I have writer's block. And my advice to her was don't give up. There's so many things that you can do within it. You can't necessarily be like, well, I guess maybe I'm not a writer because I can't finish. Or maybe I'm not a filmmaker because I can't finish a film, or because I can't get a script. But, think about the things that you're good at and think about the spaces in which you are the most successful. And she had mentioned that she had always written short stories before. And I was like, so why are you not pursuing just a slightly longer story? Maybe you should do it in smaller bits. Maybe tackling a book right off the bat. Maybe that's too large of an endeavor for your subconscious to really attempt right now. Maybe it's too scary. Maybe you should do it in smaller pieces, in pieces that you can complete. Also, she's an emotional writer. So she's writing when she's heavy in emotion. And then when she's out of that space, she's abandoning the project. And what I was telling her was that, if you're journaling, that is great. You're getting all your emotions out and you're putting it out on paper. And that's okay when you're journaling. But if you are attempting to write a book and publish it and put it out for mass consumption, then it is a relationship of love where you may start out when you're deep in your emotions and you're connected to the space. But when you're out of that space mentally, after that, it takes a commitment. you have to commit to it. Even though I'm not emotionally attached to the space, there's a commitment that will take you to the finish line. And once you get to the finish line and you read back over your stuff and you start to edit, the emotion comes back. You remember some of that emotion. Unfortunately, if you're someone who writes when you are in a lot of turmoil or your heart is broken, I often think that those people who write don't finish projects because when you read back over and when you edit, you sort of relive some of that trauma and you're afraid of the emotions that pour out. But I would say don't be afraid of them. Jot them down, capture them. But when you go back over and you refresh what it was, some of those emotions do rise to the surface. And if you capture them in words, they do show up in your writing. And you don't have to be currently in the space. Sometimes when I think about things that I went through as a child, I tear up. When I think about experiences that I've had where, I felt like I was treated unfairly or put in a wild situation that I couldn't understand why someone would want to do that to someone else, I tear up. And if I capture those moments in writing, in those moments, I can fulfill the emotion even though I'm not living in that space anymore. And that's a way to help me find my writing groove. But in other grooves, if you know that this is something that you want to pursue and you want to connect to and you're just like, no, it's very easy to doubt yourself when it's bumpy, when edges are jagged and you just can't find your footing. It's very easy to doubt yourself. We want to believe that, this is a sign that I shouldn't have done this. This is a sign that this is not going to work out for me. And we ignore the other signs that we've received that this is the thing for you. This is the thing you should pursue. And we sometimes let outside experiences or situations, things that we're looking at with our physical eye, cloud our judgment when our spiritual eye has already identified this as the thing for you. The spiritual eye is the thing that got you hooked on it, that got you going for it, that got you believing, that got you pursuing. And then your physical eye sees something that is not right or is having a hard time adjusting. We forget that we had other signs that showed us something else. So it's not going to be straight and narrow when you follow your dreams or passion. It's not. There's the fantasy of, once I started to follow my dreams, everything fell into place. It sometimes looks like that when you look back over your shoulder, but hindsight is 20/20. And if you really open your eyes, you'll see that, no, the road was bumpy. When you are looking back, it sometimes doesn't seem as bumpy, right? It's like, why was I making a big deal over that? That wasn't that big of a deal. I got over that hump. But when you're in it, you're like, what the crap? But again, hindsight is 20/20 because when you're looking at hindsight, you're like, it really wasn't a big deal. And it probably wasn't. But when you were going through, it felt like the end of the world. It felt like every sign in the book was trying to slap you and say, get out of this, go. But if you question your heart and question your spirit, and really think on it, meditate on it, and like, is this truly the thing that you want to pursue? Then hold the course until you find your groove. When you're doing it persistently, consistently, you will find your groove and things will get smoother. When I was deciding to leave my corporate job and pursue writing full time, finding my groove was extremely difficult. I mentioned this so many times before when I talk about the first few episodes of the podcast. It was like, crap. Thank God somebody believed in me and saw through that slowness and the confusion and I don't know what to talk about and I'm just going to say what's on my mind. But finding my groove was very difficult. I tried with the YouTube videos. Don't nobody watch my YouTube videos. I don't watch my YouTube videos. But, I was like, oh my God, this is not working. Maybe I'm not magnetic. Maybe I don't know how to draw in a crowd. Maybe I'm not saying anything that resonates with anyone. And maybe I wasn't, but I was saying my truth and I just kept telling my truth. And eventually with telling my truth and living my truth and remembering my purpose and that it was to document my journey and how I was developing into a writer. I mean, I always was a writer, but developing into an author and someone who would claim my destiny. And it was bumpy. But when I'm looking back over it, I'm like, I had like a bumpy year, but it got better. the fact that I'm signed to a publishing company now is beyond crazy for me. Like, oh my God, that I can believe that and I can attest to that work was worth it. And even first getting signed was bumpy. It's still kind of bumpy, I think. There are people who are also signed to this publishing company who have been so supportive, have reached out and created a relationship where I have people I can lean on and I can confide in because they've been through this. They've written a ton more books than me. They've been writing way longer than I have. They span different genres, some dipping in the African American fiction genre that I typically dip my toe in. But it was bumpy and it's still kind of bumpy, but I feel like I'm starting to find my groove. I think what really was worrying me for a long time is that I couldn't believe that people were releasing books like every 45 days or every 60 days or every 3 months. I was like, what? It takes me like half my life to write a book. Like what? And that is true for a lot of people, right? We feel like, oh my God, it took me like 5 years to write that book. But when I look back on it, I'd be like, well, what else were you writing in the meantime? There was probably all these other stories. So yeah, Cookies and Crumbles is dropping the 22nd, which is this week. Yay! But while I was writing Soil Sheets and I was writing Cookies and Crumbles, and I'm working on a lot of different things, having a lot of different ideas float through me and jotting them down all at the same time. So it may seem like I'm releasing back to back to back, but no, these are old ideas. These are things that have been sitting with me for a while, that have been developing in my mind, that span several notebooks in this house, several planning and plotting boards, and they've been around for a long time. So sometimes we look at what the surface is for someone else to say, oh my God, how are you creating this often, this quickly? And then it still be decent writing or good writing at that. And we're looking at the surface. We are monitoring the surface of what's happening with them. And that's not necessarily the case. And people don't always share what their process is. And people don't always feel the need to be transparent to let you know that, nope, I've been thinking about this forever. And I've been, because with writing and I guess with film development or any kind of artistic thing, I would venture to say like you're working on it even when you're not physically working on it. When I was in school for writing, they were saying like you're writing even though you're not writing. I was like, what? I don't even understand that. But the whole mental work that it takes to plot, to plan, you're in the shower thinking about, okay, this could happen, or you're in the car like, I heard a song and it made me think of X, Y, and Z, and it's part of a story that you're going to create. That's all part of writing. You're planning, you're plotting, you're outlining. I used to kick myself and say all the time, like, oh my God, I just can't outline. And I struggle with writing a physical outline now too, to start with. I think I have like 1 or 2 stories that I wrote the outline like first. But then I realized, or the traditional outline first, I would say. But then I realized that I've been outlining all along. I've been outlining mentally. I've been breaking up the stories bit by bit. I've been putting them in order. I've been thinking about how they're going to happen, when they happen, what impacts the other thing. I've been watching my characters, stalking them, following them around, seeing what happens, what is natural to them. And that's all part of me getting my story together. And what I realize is that when an idea comes to me, I hurry up and I jot it down. And usually when an idea comes to me, it comes to me pretty full. Like, this is the story from beginning to end. It doesn't come with details, but it comes with a general story that I could probably write down in a couple of paragraphs. And honestly, that's like the first draft of my outline, if I think about it, because it's telling me what's happening in the story. And then a cleaner outline is to just break that up and fill in a few more details. And then when writing the draft is really getting to the knit and grit. So I don't know, maybe it was from my days as a rapper. I don't know, of trying to like memorize raps and stuff like that to try to emulate like Jay-Z or whomever, to be like, oh, I don't write. I'm going to do this off the dome. But it was just like, no, I'm just going to try to memorize this thing that I came up with. So I don't know, maybe it's that kind of training. I have said before that, you think you're going to pursue something early in life only to find out that you pursued it so that it could sharpen your skills to pursue something else. So it's possible that all that work, mental work that I did prepping raps and trying to memorize things and put them in order before I got to the studio, it's possible that I'm using that skill without even realizing it to build my outline in my head and to mentally put a story together before putting it down on paper, because I do feel like I can produce things slightly faster. I do feel like I can tell a full story slightly better, and it doesn't take me 12 drafts anymore. It takes me like 5. It still takes me a lot of drafts. When I send something in, I'm sure my publisher can't stand me. When I send something in and she's like, okay, cool. And I'm like, okay, so now I'm going to do another draft. And she's like, okay, which is great. She's appreciative of that. And she's like, the more drafts, the better, right? The better the editor is going to be at editing your material because you don't have to work them too hard. And then, first of all, I take forever. I'm sure compared to the other writers, she's like, this girl sent me this thing months ago. Where is this other draft? And then I send it and she's like, okay. And then if my release date is too far away, best believe she's getting another draft. Meanwhile, I'm doing, the reason why I take forever is because for every draft she receives, I probably do 2. So when she's publishing the 3rd draft, I've done 6. Because I'm like, wait, I'm really self-conscious. I'm working on it, but you know, guys, you readers can be really like critical and beat up on some of the authors. I've seen like crazy stuff in reviews, and I'm almost like thankful that people won't review my stuff. Can y'all review my stuff though? I'm not that grateful. Soiled Sheets is available on Amazon, both paperback as well as ebook. Go on and download, order the book, read, leave a review. Love me some. Thank you. Good, bad, or indifferent. I'm truly one of those people who are like, listen, if it wasn't for you, then it wasn't for you. I've seen people like give really bad reviews and low stars, and people just like get into whole arguments on the review. And I'm just like, wait, what? Nah. I don't know what that's about. I'm not going to argue with nobody. If it's not for you, it's not for you. Or if you think I could have did something better, or you didn't like how it ended, or you were looking for something else, I'm open to those types of discussions. Slide in my DMs. You know, let's have a whole book discussion. I love that kind of stuff because it makes me a better writer. I love to be engaged. You know, it's a note to take from my next writing. It's something to keep into consideration. You know, I'm finding my groove with that. And there were times where I was like, maybe I'm not as good as I think I am, or maybe I'm not as worthy of this. Maybe, you know, they saw too much in me and now I can't deliver. I have all those worries, particularly when I don't get a lot of reviews on my books. It's like you start to question yourself and you say, oh, they didn't connect enough to want to leave a review, or they didn't connect enough to reach out to me and want to talk about it, or they didn't connect enough to refer the book to their friends, or I don't know what's going on with my numbers. Or when you're watching numbers and stuff like that, it can be very draining and you could be full of self-doubt. However, I received a little light where I posted Cookies and Crumbles cover. And if you haven't seen it, please take a look at my Instagram at PWrites, or on Twitter at PWrites, or take a look at my Facebook, Phoenix Ash, and take a look at the Cookies and Crumbles cover, which I think is beautiful. I've gotten a lot of compliments on it, but it's like the first release I've had where people have reached out and said, can you please tag me when this drops? What? I was like, absolutely. Some of them being people who have read Soiled Sheets. So I'm excited about that, but I could have easily given up and just been like, you know what? I'm sorry. This is just not for me and I'm not going to keep going forward. I satisfied my publishing contract and I really contemplated if I was going to renew it because I wasn't sure that I could offer anything more than what I had already done. I was very afraid to work on something new under the company. It was like I felt easier coming in knowing that, okay, I submitted something that made me get signed. So if I just developed that and okay, they purchased Soiled Sheets, which is cool because that was already done. And, you know, I just made a few tweaks, right? Because I'm forever drafting. But that was like the cop out. I got to work for it and you got to work for it. And if it's truly something that you're connected to and you're passionate about, you will get your footing. You will find it. You will become stable and you will move past this point of struggle or bumpy road or jagged edge. And you will look over your shoulder and you will ask yourself, what was I in a tizzy about? It's fine. It's okay. I made it. We're moving forward It's doing what it does. And did I garner the audience that I was looking for? Did I garner the respect that I was looking for at that point? No. But it contributed to my resume. It contributed to my work ethic. It contributed to my reputation. And reputations are sometimes very slow to build. Audiences are very slow to build. Respect can be very slow to build. But like I said, if you're truly connected to it, invested in it, you saw it with your spiritual eye, you connected to it, you took that leap of faith, or maybe it was a step of faith and not so much of a leap, but things aren't panning out the way you wanted them to after 3 months, 6 months, maybe even a year. Again, if you're truly connected to it and truly feel that this is the thing for you, don't give up. You will find your groove. Time is going to pass anyway, so you might as well invest that time in the thing that you love. I mean, if I have to be frustrated pursuing something, I would rather be frustrated pursuing that thing that I love than pursuing that thing that I am not emotionally connected to. Because the thing that I'm not emotionally connected to, when it's all said and done, I may have acquired something for someone else, or I may have achieved something for someone else, but I'm still frustrated even after the achievement, even after the acquisition. If I'm going to be frustrated pursuing something for myself, I obviously have it in me to acquire or to accomplish. So there's a different level of energy that produces when I'm at that acquisition or accomplishment stage. I want that. And so it may take me a little longer. It may take me to pray a little harder. It may take a little more work for me. It may take a little more discipline and more study. It's like 3 times better than what's going to happen with my frustration even after I reach the pinnacle. I don't want to be frustrated at the top or frustrated at whatever top. People like to think it's presumptuous you're going to end up on the top. Man, claim that mess. Get to the top. But you have to hold on until you find your footing. You're going to get your groove. I promise. Anyway, that's my bit for today. I thank you guys for listening. I thank you guys for your support. Once again, Soil Sheets is available on Amazon as well as Kindle. The Kindle app, do people know you can get the Kindle app for free? You download it to your phone. So you don't necessarily have to have a Kindle to read Kindle books. Just letting you know that. Or if you have an iPad or a tablet or something, you can just download the app. I would advise you read it. It gives you a little backstory of the parents of Mercy Davenport, and Mercy is the main character in Cookies and Crumbles. I don't know if you're a person like me who has a million questions about background, how people grew up, or who raised them, or what brought someone to a particular point. You may want to read Soil Sheets. If you don't care, go ahead, read Cookies and Crumbles. You can read it alone. It's fine. Either way, I thank you for your support. Once again, Cookies and Crumbles drops August 22nd. Yay, that's this week. So excited for that. And I thank you for your time. I thank you for everything that you guys offer me by just listening to me and hearing me out. It's much appreciated. Until next time, when we get exchange power. Peace.